Hi everyone, welcome to part 6 of puppet building Agoro style. In this video we'll be building the head. This tutorial will move quickly, so get used to pausing and rewinding from time to time. And to help the process move along just a little bit smoother, I've provided some documentation. You can see it here on screen or via a link below, or through the official website www.agorothephobicmonster.com. Before we get too involved, there's still a bit of sewing left to do. I left this till now because the mouth is a crucial area for the puppet. Start by checking the inner mouthpiece that you already cut out. Look for the center marks on the top and the bottom of the fabric, then use them to pin and secure these spots in line with the seam on the head. Just like this. I've added in extra pins to hold the mouth in place. Now, as you may remember, we created an extra gap between the upper and lower parts of the mouth. This will make the mouth fabric that much larger than the mouth hole in the head. I'll show you why we did this in just a moment. But for now, start sewing. All you need to remember is that this is the key focal area for the puppet. So when you sew, try to make sure that you put your stitches as tight and close together as possible, because the inner mouth gets the most wear and tear, yet it's the hardest part of the puppet to repair. In order to fix the mouth evenly onto the head, I prefer to start at the top center and work around to the corner of the mouth. Then return to the top center and work around to the opposite corner. Next, start at the bottom center and do the same again. Once you've done this, you should end up with some excess fabric in the corners of the mouth. It should look something like this. That excess is there to provide an extra degree of maneuverability. This jaw can shift left and right, not just up and down. It's subtle, but it makes a huge difference in the hand of a skilled puppeteer. Time to build the skull. We'll be using contact adhesive, so make sure you have gloves, a mask and proper ventilation. Start by gluing the dart in the skull sections. To apply the glue, it's best to tear loose a piece of foam and use it as a brush. When you apply the adhesive, make sure you put on a decent coat. Then give the glue some time to breathe and become sticky. You can fan the foam to speed this up. Once the glue has begun to go sticky, simply fold the edges together. I didn't give the glue enough time to breathe, so the process here is a little sloppy. The edges will naturally want to separate, so just keep pinching the foam together until it joins properly. You should end up with something like this. Now join the two halves of the skull together, making sure that the pieces are mirrored. I didn't give the glue enough time to breathe, so the process here is a little sloppy. As the glue dries, you should be able to pop the skull inside out and back again without any issues. Next, we get the mouth ring and the rubber mouth plates that you made in part 2. Take note of the center marks on the ring and the rubber mouth plate. Now glue the mouth plates in place. Once dry, they should be able to fold over each other like a mouth, just like this. And finally, once the mouthpiece and the skull have dried, we now need to glue the mouth part to the inner edge of the front of the skull. You can tell the front of the skull because it's the side where 3 seams of the skull are visible. You then lather the glue and fix the mouth part into the skull's inner edge. When finished, it should look something like this. Some of you may have noticed that I haven't addressed the hand grips in the mouth. We will be making those, but because this is Agoro style puppet making, we won't need those until we've completed the head. Now with the skull ready, comes the part that I get nervous about, skinning the head. The technique to do this isn't all that easy to describe, and when I filmed it, I accidentally went off camera, so I'll also use diagrams. I use a technique I call the twisted kiss. You put contact adhesive on the rubber mouth plate area of the skull. The next part all needs to happen before the glue can dry, so be quick. You need to press the rubber mouth plate into the top and bottom of the inside out mouth. At first it won't look like the rubber pieces will fit, but they will. Next, you start by lining up the inside out head with the skull, making them stare at each other face to face. You need to press the rubber mouth plate into the top and bottom of the inside out mouth. Once attached, put your hand into the inside out head and then nudge around the mouth fabric until you're happy with the way it's lined up and you're happy that it feels nice and smooth in there. But it doesn't need to be perfect just yet. By now you should be able to close the mouth on the skull. This will bite the mouth fabric into place and prepare you for the big flip. Remember, don't dawdle but don't rush either. Now with your hand holding the skull and mouth, you push the head forward and over the skull, thereby turning it right side up. It should now look something like this. With that over, we still need to adjust the fabric on the skull. Knead and stretch the fabric on the mouth plate first, making sure that the seam of the mouth fabric sits perfectly on the interior rubber mouth plate. Then, where necessary, knead and bunch the foam skull so that your head's fabric rests snugly and evenly. If done right, there should be a section of fabric at the back of the head hanging loosely. And with that, you should have something that looks like this. Around now you're going to need some sort of puppet stand. You'll need one for fabrication so you get a good view and access to the puppet, and you'll need one for display, because when you're done, I get the feeling you don't want to leave this puppet in a heap somewhere. The basic idea of a stand is thin, stable, and tall. I just screw together some wood and put a half foam ball on the top. Some people use postage tubes on wood, while others use PVC piping with end caps. What you do is up to you, just know that you're going to need a puppet stand. So now moving on to the face. This is the part that I know a lot of people will want a lot more information on. Building a face is a subject that could be its own entire series of lessons. Once I learn a little more, I might be convinced to make them if enough people want the info. In any case, I always start with the eyes. They're the focal point of the entire character. You could honestly spend hours designing, then placing puppet eyes. They're just that critical. Here I start by pinning them in place temporarily to get a sense of placement. For this character we're using standard teddy bear eyes, so I'm mindful that once clipped in, they'll create a slightly sunken in socket. For everyone wanting to know more about eyes, here's a quick note on some of the other characters from the show. Agoro's eyes are ping pong balls with felt eyelids and felt circles for pupils. Jackie's eyes are spoons with felt eyelids and felt circles for pupils. Melvin's eyes are lenses from a pair of sunglasses. Buddy's eyes are ping pong balls with doll's eyes jammed in them. And if you want to just skip the eyes and give the character glasses or goggles, you can do that, just like Bleeper. But that said, Bleeper does have beady little eyes behind those glasses. And of course you can add noses, ears, horns, etc, etc. That's all up to you. But with all that said, we now need to move on to the last step, the hand grips. I leave this step to last because building the head and designing the face can involve a lot of pulling, stretching and poking. So I'll wait for the head to look right before fixing the inside. This being the Agoro style means we'll be doing it a little differently. My material of choice is Plumber's insulation foam. For more information, check the link on screen or check the link below labelled supply list. Plumber's insulation foam is essentially hollow tubes of foam. I normally get two sizes, one size which is large enough to fit 2 fingers and another which is just big enough to squeeze in the tip of your thumb. Now we cut them to size. The larger tube goes on the top and measures from the front of the rubber mouth plate to the back, no longer than that. The smaller one needs only be around 2 cm long and it's positioned at the front edge of the bottom mouth plate. Then, using contact adhesive, glue them in position. For extra support for these grips, you can cut small pieces of foam and glue them in the gaps between the tubes and the mouth plates. The lower grip is prone to breaking, so if you want to reinforce it, lay a strip of foam over the top and glue it to the mouth ring. And with that, you've finished the head. Congratulations, you're 98% of the way to making this guy or a variation of him. There's only one more step left. I'm Chris, this has been part 6 of Puppet Building Agoro Style. To keep following and discover more content as we upload it, please subscribe to the channel, or give us a like, or hit that notification icon. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, we'd love it if you'd give us a like. Next up, part 7, putting it all together.